All right. Thanks, Allie, for joining me today to answer some career questions. So first off, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you because you'll probably do it best.
All right. Well, I am Allie Bissonnette. I'm the Dean of Instruction here at LTCC. I've been here for about 3 years now and came here from Los Angeles with my family, which has grown since I got here. So I'm also a mother of a 4-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son. And my husband actually also works here at the college. So we're a college family.
Nice. Thanks. So how did you get to be the Dean of Instruction? What was your career pathway like? What other jobs have you had along the way?
Yeah, so I mean, my pathway, like most people's, has really meandered. I would say the thing that has been consistent throughout my career trajectory has always been education. So that's always been something that's been central to my interests. I actually, in school, I graduated from University of Southern California with a degree in international relations. And all I really knew is that I wanted to work in something to do with social justice and education. And, I was interested in nonprofit industry, but I didn't really know where I wanted to go with that. I ended up joining Teach for America, which is a nonprofit organization that places teachers in low-income, low-performing schools to try and increase the achievement of our struggling students and struggling schools. So I taught for 3 years in South Los Angeles, 5th graders and 6th graders. I taught science and English. And I can tell you it was absolutely the hardest and most rewarding job I have had to this day. Teaching is hard, it's complicated, but it's also fun and creative and unique. But it prepared me for every career I've had since. So I always say, like, if you can start in teaching, it'll prepare you for whatever you want to do later. It's about team building and, community and culture and delivering a message and project management. It teaches everything. So I loved teaching. But so after 3 years, I moved over to a nonprofit where I was a project specialist for a nonprofit called Parent Revolution. And that organization did community organizing with parents in low-income schools to help them transform their schools into higher performing schools. So I was not a community organizer because we worked with a lot of Hispanic populations and I don't speak Spanish. So I was not able to be an organizer, but I supported the organizing team on tons of projects. Now I say if you can get a special project job, that is fabulous also because it gives you a taste of everything. You work kind of up and down the chain at an organization. So I was there for about 2 years. And so again, really focused on education, on social justice, on those sorts of topics. But my husband and I knew always that we also wanted to take some time off. And so this is one of the things I always tell people when they're thinking about their future and their career is that it's also okay to think about how you want to plan for you and what you want to do for you. You don't have to stay on this linear career trajectory. You can think about how you want your life kind of to intersect. And so we knew that we wanted to take a year off, do some traveling, do some, some soul searching, do some hiking and backpacking. And so we had set a goal to save up all of our money. Neither of us had a lot of money at all, but we basically lived really cheaply for about 5 or 6 years. And by the time I was finishing up at Parent Revolution, we decided it was time to do that together. So before I did, though, I went and chatted with a friend of mine who is my mentor and said, Dan, do you think this is a good idea? Is this career suicide? And he said, no, if anything, it'll make you more interesting. So with the anointment from my mentor, we did that, hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, traveled for a year. It was incredible. But again, we kept in touch with all of our contacts. And when it was time to come back, I got a job at the University of Southern California running their political, what's now called the Center for the Political Future. It's kind of where it's the practical politics side of their poli-sci department, which was also an incredible job. I was there just about 4 years and then was ready to leave LA, ready for a change, ready for a different angle on education, and landed here as the Dean of Instruction. So I've held a lot of different jobs in education. None of them have been linear. None of them really ever made sense, but they've all been fulfilling, and I've learned a ton.
Great. Thanks for sharing. So I'm going to go off script here for a minute because you mentioned your mentor. And for those students or people who may not know, talk to us a little bit about what that looks like. What is a mentor when you're talking about career?
Oh, gladly. A mentor is foundational. I have a list of them. And so, I mean, a mentor I think of as someone who is a friend, but it's also someone that you actively cultivate. So I think one of the most important messages for students is that you don't necessarily fall into a mentorship. A mentor doesn't always find you and take you under their wing. Sometimes you kind of have to like shove yourself under that wing and be like, hi, I'm looking for a mentor. So some of the best advice I got actually from my mentor is to go out and seek out new mentors, right? You can ask people that if you're interested in someone's work, you don't have to ask them for a job interview, but ask them, say like, I'm really interested in what you do. Can I sit down and have like an informational interview? And people, look, like I'm sitting here talking to you now, people love to talk about themselves. And so I think that's an important message for students, that if they just let people know that they'd like to hear more about what they do, that's a way into a mentorship. And then I think the other important message for students is that it's on you to kind of keep in touch. And even if it's been a year or 2 years, it's never too late to think, you know what, that person is doing something really cool, and I really felt comfortable with that person. You can reach out and tell them that. Hey, I'd love to grab coffee and catch up and hear more about your work. People are eager to do that. So I think it's just important for students to remember it's incumbent upon them to go seek out that mentorship. And that's how I've gotten all of my jobs throughout my career. I have a list of my mentors, and when I'm ready to start thinking about what's new, I call all of them and say, hey, what are you doing? What do you think? This is where I'm at in my career. And so it's important, and it's again, it's something that the student has to do, or the individual seeking the mentorship has to take on.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So tell us about your job. Is there a typical day at the college?
No, not at all. Yeah, this job is so strange and interesting. Well, and in particular, in my role as the Dean of Instruction, I oversee so many different departments, right? So it's everything from art to science to English to math. But then there's also like the Child Development Center and our PE department. And so I always joke that I go from basically infant to, really older adults, because we have like our older adults Fit for Life class, which is for, 50 and up. And then we have our infant program at the CDC. And my day can be dealing with any number of issues in between. And, I say dealing with, because it's a Dean is, as much as it is a lot of strategy and planning, it's also a reactive position, because you're here to support the people who are on the ground doing work with students every day. And so it's about making sure that they have what they need. They have the supports in place that they need to do their jobs well. So my job takes a million forms every day. And I think what I love about it is that no day is really the same or predictable. And every day is just sort of tackling some new challenge.
Speaking of challenges, what is the most challenging thing about your job, or what has surprised you about it?
I think the most challenging thing is partly just the diversity of groups that I work with, in terms of I'm not, at some larger schools, there might be a dean of mathematics who was a math faculty who has expertise in that area. So to be the dean of mathematics and English and political science and art, I don't necessarily have expertise in each of those areas. So building up the expertise that I need to do my job effectively in each of those areas has been probably the biggest challenge. But I think approaching it is really, it's just about listening and learning from our awesome faculty that we have here, right? They're more than happy to educate me. Yeah. Really, it's been about listening and learning and trusting them to help me know what they need to thrive.
Right. And besides the variety, what is your favorite part of the job, or what are you excited about right now?
Broadly, my favorite part of the job is the people I work with. I'm very much a people person. I like interacting with other people, although I also like a good spreadsheet, so I can go. But I think that's my favorite part, is just getting to work with our faculty and when I can with students and see what they do and see what they are coming out with and see how this college is changing them, which I get to do more and more now that we're leaving COVID, right? It was a little bit quiet for a few years. And the second part of your question was, favorite thing I'm working on right now. There are a lot of exciting projects right now. I think, again, coming out of COVID, there's a huge enrollment push. So I'm working with student services on some outreach work that I'm really excited about. Our HSI grant is here, and it's reshaping the way we approach getting students into STEM and through STEM. And yeah, I think the dual enrollment work we're doing is really exciting. So I just think there's a lot of momentum moving the college in a really positive direction. And I'm excited for whatever little part of all those projects I play.
All right. What education do you need to be a dean, and which skills or personality traits do you think are important for your job?
So to be a dean, so I'm a non-traditional dean in that I think a lot of deans would have, followed a path of studying a certain topic, getting a master's in that discipline, being faculty, and then moving on to a dean. So I'm very untraditional in that way, in that I've never been a faculty member. I was a teacher in K-12, but not a college faculty member. Education, I think you would need to have a master's degree. So it's definitely something that you'd want to pursue, a higher level of education. And then in terms of skills, I think the two most important skills you need to be a dean are to be somebody who communicates well and builds relationships well with other people, because you do interact with so many people and you have to bring people together around complex issues. So being really communicative and, a relationship builder. And then I think project management is key. There are so many projects going on at all times. And so being able to lean into where projects need to have a leader and really take the reins, and then also being able to sit back and be a follower in some bigger projects that you're not leading. I think being able to know those dual roles is important.
If you could go back and do it all over again, start your career pathway over, would you do things the same way, or would you change anything?
Well, I would change everything just for fun, just to see what happens. Because I think I'm one of those people who just loves learning about other careers and seeing what else is out there. So, there's a part of me that's like, I loved physics. Maybe I would have really leaned into that passion, and who knows where that would have taken me and what career that would have taken me to. So just for the sake of getting a different experience, I would have done everything differently. But not at all because I'm not happy with where I am now. I've learned so much. And again, things tend to work out if you know what you're passionate about, and you know what you care about just at the core.
Yeah.
You know what you're good at. Just leaning into that and calling your mentors and talking about it, the opportunities present themselves to you. You just kind of have to lean into them.
Yeah, I like that. What advice do you have for somebody who wants to get into a position like yours?
I would just say my advice for anybody who wants any position is just mentorship. It is talk to people who, right, I'm just going to go back to that kind of fundamental principle of finding a good mentor and talking to people and asking your questions and building those relationships. I think that is fundamentally important. The jobs will be there on the jobs boards, but I think the people that you can talk to who can help, sing your praises, be your references, that's just fundamental to any career you want to pursue.
All right. And last question, is there anything that you wish you would have known when you started down your career path?
I wish I knew more careers
Yeah.
early on. I think, I didn't understand that in international relations, there are like all the jobs that come out of that, right? You can be like a foreign policy advisor to a president, or you can work at the State Department, or you can. And so, like my background, right, is obviously very political. I didn't realize that with a political science degree, you could be a communications specialist or a campaign manager or a philanthropist, like there's just so many different jobs that stem from each discipline. And I think having a real understanding of those is my only thing that I wish I knew earlier on. And, I wish I did more internships. Just dabble more. I think if students can be getting internships and getting just a taste, even if you hate your internship, you have learned one job that you don't want to do. Check it off the list. And I think it's fundamentally important. So like stacking up the internships is something I probably would have done differently.
That's great advice. Knowing what you don't want to do is as important as knowing what you do want to do.
Totally. It's time well spent, as long as it's only like 10 weeks or something.
Yes. All right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
No, I think that's it. But it was really nice talking to you today. And hopefully some students will go find some mentors and pursue their dream jobs.
Yeah. Thanks so much for talking to me.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.